The Ganges River is more than a body of water. It is a sacred force that runs through India's history, spirituality, and survival. Revered as Ganga Ma, or Mother Ganges, it is both a goddess and a giver of life. Yet the same river that sustains more than 400 million people now faces ecological collapse. Pollution, overuse, and poor management have turned one of the Earth's holiest waters into one of its most endangered ecosystems. This video explores how the Ganges reached this point through its history and science, and the ways India is working to restore it. To understand today's crisis, we first look back. Ganga and Varanasi, Lessons from the Past, describes how ancient urban design once balanced human life with nature. Ghats and filtration ponds were designed to harvest rainwater, allow natural filtration, and sustain aquifers that supplied the city through wells. British colonial policies destroyed that balance. The report notes that indigenous systems were either neglected or replaced by centralized drainage and pipe supply schemes that ignored the ecological logic of the city. By replacing local knowledge with rigid industrial systems, colonization planted the seeds of today's inefficiencies. Modern policy echoes that mistake. Water management in the Ganges Basin challenges and policy options urges India to view the Ganges as one unified ecosystem, instead of separate state jurisdictions calling for coordinated management with Bangladesh. Likewise, water management in the age of decolonialization explains how modernization often prioritizes industry over ecology. It stresses that constructed wetlands and wastewater recycling plants can significantly reduce pollutant load, but only if paired with public education and awareness. Together, these sources show that restoration must reconnect with India's own environment heritage, merging traditional wisdom and modern governance. And this leads into why the river is so incredibly important. The Ganges cannot be separated from faith. In sacred rivers, their spiritual significance in Hindu religion, it describes it as a living goddess that washes away sins. Even when polluted, believers still regard it as purifying because it embodies the presence of Ganga Ma herself. This devotion explains why millions of people continue to bathe and pray in its waters despite health risks. The Ganges isn't merely a river. In Religious Studies Review, it adds that Hinduism is a banyan tree with many roots, each sustaining its own branch of practice. At the center flows the Ganges, a goddess whose waters carry the power to cleanse moral and spiritual defilement. Bathing in it is a divine act of renewal, for she is said to flow from heaven itself. Any conservation effort must therefore respect both ecological science and spiritual significance as well. The river is most definitely in crisis, though. Modern research reveals just how serious the contamination has become. In environmental toxicology and pharmacology, scientists found that levels of lead, cadmium, chromium, and nickel consistently exceeded WHO safety limits. These metals accumulate in sediments and enter the food chain through bioaccumulation, posing serious risks to aquatic organisms and human health. Meanwhile, Marine Pollution Bulletin reports rising microplastic pollution, polyethylene, and polypropylene from textiles and packaging, especially around Kanpur and Varanasi. These particles are eaten by fish and ultimately enter the food chain through that. The result is clear. The Ganges is not only dirty, but it's toxic. Industrial runoff, agricultural waste, and poor treatment systems have made this river extremely unsafe for human life. Despite the crisis, multiple solutions are emerging, though, both ancient and innovative. In Consulance, the Journal of Sustainable Development tested India's historical stepwells and Kerez systems, showing they produced water within WHO drinking quality parameters. These systems consist of different types of tunnels underground that come from aquifers, which then enter agricultural irrigation systems. Reviving these community-run structures allows rural areas to control their own clean water supply, reducing dependence on overwhelmed state systems. Journal of Environmental Management shows that green infrastructure, such as constructed wetlands and wastewater recycling plants, can significantly reduce pollutant load, but warns that engineering solutions must be complemented by public education. Technology alone cannot save the Ganges. Knowledge and participation must accompany it. UN Environmental Program News and Stories highlights the Namami Gange Initiative, India's largest river restorative mission. It has already invested over $4 billion and treats 5 billion liters of wastewater daily, and reforested 30,000 hectares of land, aiming for 135,000 hectares by 2030. These hectares matter. Reforesting the basin stabilizes riverbanks, prevents soil erosion, and restores groundwater recharge, and rebuilds habitats that filter water naturally as well. Each new tree helps regenerate the hydrological cycle the river depends on. Finally, the River Rejuvenation Project in India documents the government's broader plan. The Ministry of Environment's detailed project reports address 13 major rivers, covering 57.45% of India's land area and 202 tributaries spanning 42,830 kilometers. These DPRs pursue Aviral Dhara and Nirmal Dhara, which mean uninterrupted flow and clean water, through afforestation, soil conservation, and community partnerships. The report concludes that these projects provide numerous benefits, including improved water quality, biodiversity conservation, flood mitigation, and enhanced climate resilience. Together, they mark a shift, treating rivers not as resources to exploit, but as living ecosystems to heal. And we see this river healing because the Ganges River dolphin has come back. And that is a major sign that these efforts can work if the Indian government and people keep putting their mind to it.